Alright, you're all over the place here, Master Miller, so I'm gonna have to sort this shit out. Okay, going back to, let's see what I can do about this. Okay, where did this start? My first reply to you, or your first reply to me. I'm not sure how I can't remember how this happened. So disbelief is synonymous with rejection. Why do you accept God? So I think it starts right here. Well, okay, yeah, okay, so you're responding to, well, I can't really tell because you didn't include a quote, considering this thread now consists of about 200 replies. I don't know why that's such a hard concept to grasp, or difficult concept to grasp, but you did not, so I'm just gonna have to go with what there is. We need protection from this shit show man-made. Well, okay, I ask you what you're talking about. Okay, we need protection from the shit show man-made that we made. Now, would this shit show exist? Okay, you go on later about love being the experience God wants us to have, and love being the creation of cells, or the cells that hold. I don't know. I can't remember what you said last night, but we need protection from our own sin. Money is needed because the earthly kings say so. They say so because we designed the yoke. So you're all over the place here. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This has nothing to do with, I don't even remember. I mean, this whole thing started a year ago, I think, and everybody's all over the place with this shit. But let's see what happened here. So I tried to establish some sort of point. Okay, well, I first ask you what you're talking about. You don't. God created the causal universe we experience, which are actions are causes of effects. Like God, we have the ability to freely choose. So you go on about that, and yeah, you're all over the place. So I do my best here. I ask, would sin/unholiness be our problem if God either didn't want obedience or just didn't create life? If man made this shit show, what does it have to do with God or Satan? So, you're trying to put God into it. Like, if it's our problem, what is? I mean, you don't answer that question. Well, obviously, that's what I do. I hold people to my questions. But you're going all over the place, so I'll admit that. Well, it's not even something it's not a problem on my part, it's a problem on your part. I mean, I'm only here to question. I know I'm not going to get any, I do get answers, but I have to really hold you guys down, because you're deluded, and you just reject any kind of sensibility. You go your own way with it. You're tied to your ideology or your religious thinking. Okay, so God created the causal universe we experience, in which our actions are causes of effects. Like God, we have the ability to freely choose what we want to manifest. Without this ability, we are not free. Okay, so I don't know what free means. I mean, how are we free if we have to make a choice? I mean, you talk about, where was it? Oh, it's in this, I think. You talk about sin at some point here. Right? What the fuck is it? Oh yeah. You say we need protection from our own sin. I'll just stick with that. Okay, so Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked, would sin have become our problem if God either didn't want obedience or just didn't create life? You don't answer that. You say God created the causal universe we experienced in which our actions are cause of effects. Like God, we have the ability to choose. This doesn't answer my question. I didn't ask what God did or if what ability we have. Okay, we have the ability to freely choose. Nobody's saying we don't, but we are forced to make a choice. And that's not freedom. How is that freedom? And as I asked, would we need to make a choice if God either didn't want anything from us or just didn't, as you try to say later that God doesn't want obedience. Obedience serves us or some crazy shit like that. Or just didn't so I'll just stick with that. Would we need anything or need to do anything if God just didn't create life? For some reason you just don't want to answer that. And I think you fear that question. You're avoiding it. So if man made this shit show, I mean, that's another side of the question. What does it have to do with God? You keep injecting God into it. God can't have anything to do with us if it's our own doing. Right here, you said it yourself. Okay, God created the causal universe we experienced in our actions to choose, in which our actions are causes of effects. Like God, we had the ability to choose what? I mean, how? Ability to choose. What do you talk? What does that have to do with God? We created this shit show. How did it become a shit show? How did we make it a shit show? That seems to be all we're capable of, right? I mean, you talk about sin. Well, sin is why it's a shit show. And why is sin our problem? Because God created life, right? So that's God's fault. Did you ask God to create life? I know I didn't. Assuming he exists just to ask. I mean, what God created everything perfectly and in order. So how can anybody fuck anything up if an omnipotent God created everything perfectly? That's the key word here. Perfectly. And in order, whatever that means. What does in order mean? But if it's perfect and orderly, how could we possibly fuck things up and turn it into a shit show? Why would we need a choice if God created everything perfectly and orderly? You really think we're capable of fucking things up? Well, I mean, that happened because you're contradicting yourself. Why is a choice necessary in a circumstance that is perfect and orderly? How is that? How does that work? Why is choice necessary? But man, through his own choice, wounds the order of nature. How can we do anything to God's perfect and orderly creation? Omnipotence. It's perfect. How could it be violated or whatever? We can choose to do good and heal others. Would we need to do good and heal others if God was... Well, you said yourself God created everything perfectly. How can anything be bad or need to be healed? Now, what did I say? Okay, did I ask what God created? Okay, so that's why I didn't respond with any of that. Okay, did I ask what God created, how he did, or our behaviors in relation? No, what did you... You asked what it had to do with God or Satan, that's how. Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with Satan or God. It can't, if it's our doing. If we made the shit show, It has nothing to do with God or Satan. Because it's our doing. Maybe God created us, but God is removed from you've removed God and Satan by saying that like, we made it. You said it yourself, we made it. So none of this is valid. Do you understand that, Master? God created the causal universe we experience in which our actions are causes of effects. So it has nothing to do with God. And if we have God gave us the ability to choose, right? So he removed himself. And so did you. But you're also contradicting yourself because you then say God created everything perfectly and in order. So nothing we can possibly do could make it into a shit show. You see the problem here in your logic? No. God wants it. You asked what it had to do with... Okay, Satan wants to destroy us for his own reasons. Okay, you're going on about us making the shit show. Now you're saying Satan wants to destroy us for his own reasons. So, what does Satan have to do with anything? What did Satan do? You said it's our made shit show. You didn't mention anything about Satan in there. How is Satan trying to destroy us? I mean, you say we have the ability to choose. How could Satan have any kind of influence? And why do you want to believe all this? Why do you want all this to be true? Okay, holiness just means consecrated to God. Nobody is perfect, but nobody is perfect. So how can we are God's creation, right? Well, I mean, Adam and Eve were, so how could they be imperfect? How could they cause sin if they were made perfectly? They're God's creation, right? You just contradicted yourself again. This world, this world can't happen in the case of an orderly and perfect and orderly creation from an omnipotent divine being, creator. But everyone has a part in them that is holy and not of this world. You're not answering my question here either. I asked again, would sin, holiness have become our problem if God either didn't want obedience or just didn't create life? And what does God or Satan have to do with this world of this shit show if it's all our doing? You define holiness. I didn't ask for a definition of holiness. I didn't ask if anybody is perfect. So answer my questions, Master. It's not difficult. Well, you don't want to because you know you can't. So I'm holding you to your feet again. Stop trying to... this is for Thomas, who didn't get back to me, but that's fine. God doesn't want you to obey for no reason. Now we're getting into what God doesn't want. Did I ask what God doesn't want? I didn't ask why God wants our obedience or anything. No. Yeah, answer my questions. My guy, repeat your... Now, this guy you just go on your own way, don't you? I've already said it. I mean, you obviously you can't answer my questions. That's just why you're not. Bro, there was dozens of replies, and I actually answered that. No, you did not. I've just demonstrated that you did not. God does not want obedience. Obedience serves us. You still didn't, well, did you explain what that meant? Nobody's forcing you to do anything, not even live. Obedience serves us. Doesn't really care. Who cares about that? Yeah, I shouldn't have even bothered. But that's why I'm doing this video, so I can sort this out. So you, sir, are going to tell me if sin or unholiness would be our problem if God either didn't want obedience or just didn't create life. And obviously God does want obedience because he told Adam and Eve not to eat from that tree, but they did, which would be disobedience, which is what caused us to be unholy and sinful in nature. So answer my question, sir. Now!